Let's play a little game of what if. What if all of these people are wrong? I mean, yeah, they probably all got more legal experience than I do. However, none of them are representing Karen Read. But let's hear them all out first.
When you go see a defense attorney, and I think a lot of people know this, whether it's from personal experience or watching TV, when you go to an attorney in a criminal case, it's just bedrock, solid advice. Do not speak to anyone.
I said that from the jump. I probably wouldn't have done it. Not probably. I wouldn't have done it. But because they did it, these experienced lawyers always knew those statements could and would come in at trial. So when we talk about Karen Read's statements, will the prosecution make some hay with them? I think they will. I think they'll be able to fit them into their angle of the case and theory of the case.
Last time they didn't have these statements. They didn't have videos of Karen Read going out into the media and making statements which presumably hurt her. Otherwise, they wouldn't want to use them. So they're putting a strong foot forward, and they're going to use these statements for all they're worth.
It's now the ability and the opportunity to make use out of them. Karen Read has a sacrosanct right to remain silent, and she chose voluntarily as part of what, in my mind, is an ill-conceived pretrial strategy to taint the jury pool to make different statements. The problem is, when you make statements, you better make sure that they are thought out and that they are consistent and that they are plausible. It's just the opposite of what we've seen. A lot of her statements have been replete with contradictions, and probably most compelling and of most use to the prosecution is they've been admissions. So those statements are going to be devastating to the defense.
But in the same vein, letting her go out and make all these admissions and statements now prevents you from maybe putting her on the stand this time. And what is the proof that you have that any of this happened? I think they opened up a cornucopia of evidence that they'll be allowed to use at this trial. And I don't think it was helpful at all.
So standard advice is do not talk to anyone.
Karen Read has an absolute right not to talk, not to testify, not to say anything. But if she says anything outside of court that is recorded in some way that it can come into court, even if she said something to a witness and the Commonwealth knew about it, they can use it against her. They are statements of a party opponent. Your right to shut the fuck up is all inclusive. She chose to do interviews. She had to have known, and her attorneys would have told her, she has a bunch of attorneys, and B, very smart attorneys. And they would have said, anything you say in these interviews, aired or not aired, can be used in court.
Read's public statements have drawn a lot of curiosity. Some comments online, she needs to stop talking. And I don't understand how she's done all these interviews.
Totally against it.
Phil Tracy is a criminal defense attorney of 50 years. If Read were his client,
I would never let her talk to the media. It might help a little, but it hurts more.
Every defendant wants to get their story out and have it told. Media interviews especially present a very short form version of what actually happened. This interview will most likely be cut. Your story is going to change. No matter what happens, no matter how clear you are, memories get refreshed. All of that, no matter how innocent you are, will come back to bite you.
I don't think all of those interviews were flattering. I don't think all of them were helpful. There are things in those interviews that are going to be bad for her in court that did not come in last time. Lally did not go after these last time, and there were some things he could have. The Commonwealth can use all of it.
Anything you say as a criminal defendant, anything you say to anyone, whether it's a police officer, whether it's a reporter, whether it's a civilian, anybody essentially outside of your attorney, can and likely will be used against you.
So there you have it. These are all far more experienced attorneys than me just giving commentary. And of course, I've said this in previous commentary. When the system is broken, staying silent is complicity in your own destruction. None of these attorneys address what you do when the system's broken. How do you bring public attention to the system being broken? Well, you do exactly what Karen Read has done, right?
Why is it important to you to keep talking?
I have nothing to hide.
I'm anxious. I want everyone to know what I know. And sunlight is the best disinfectant. That's been our mantra for 3 years.
So that tracks with the defence team's consistent messaging over the past couple of years. And it seems like everyone's buying that that's been their consistent message for the past couple of years. Even those who have obvious biases. But these are all individuals looking at a case as an individual, whereas Karen has amassed quite a team of brilliant minds. That isn't to suggest that all of these lawyers that I just featured, when put together as a team, aren't just as brilliant. I'm just making the point that she has a whole team working with her. And on that team, she has Alan Jackson. He's literally a Hollywood attorney. And he knows what the media's next move is going to be before they even make it. On top of that, many of the attorneys on her team have also been prosecutors. So, likewise, they probably know all of the moves that the prosecution's going to make before they even make it. So, what if, it's a big if, but what if speaking to the media is actually planned?
For Bear, ready to get the show on the road, and we're happy with the whole process today.
Karen,
last 2 weeks.
How do you feel about Hank Brennan planning to use your interviews in his opening statement?
Come at me.
That's what your dad said. You sound like your dad.
I've literally found no attorney, no commentator whatsoever who has even considered this. In fact, a well-deployed media plan has helped turn the tide in some of the most publicised legal battles in modern history, although very rarely when the defendant is actually innocent. The point is, Alan Jackson is very experienced at this whole thing. So let's take Michael Morrissey's personality, who is trying to control the narrative and has been since the hostage video, and as the DA of Norfolk County, he's used to controlling the narrative. But we've also watched ADA Lally and now Brennan's behaviour in pre-trial court hearings, and of course during trial 1.0 for Lally. They seem to be more concerned about the sound bites, and so does Judge Bev for that matter, to an obsessive degree. So if you're Alan Jackson and you've got this experience with the media and you know exactly what they're going to do next, then you see this obsession with controlling that narrative, then why wouldn't you use it to your strategic advantage? What if Alan Jackson and the rest of the team planted Easter eggs in Karen Read's interviews? Because they well know Morrissey's going to seize any opportunity he can, and they're setting a trap. Something similar happened with the Duke Lacrosse case, where the defence set a trap and let the prosecution walk directly into it. DA Mike Nifong charged 3 Duke University lacrosse players with SA. The defence knew the DNA evidence cleared their clients, but let Nifong keep digging his own grave. Nifong kept going on TV, hyping the case, calling the players hooligans, and withholding that exculpatory DNA evidence. Eventually, the defence exposed the withheld DNA in open court, with the entire public watching. As a result, Nifong was not only forced to dismiss the case, he was also disbarred and held in criminal contempt. That was a trap, and the DA got annihilated by his own arrogance. And we since found out that those lacrosse players were actually innocent. Anyway, that wasn't just theatrics, it was a tactical performance, and the prosecution got played. There's dozens of other cases I could have drawn on for examples, but that one just seemed appropriate. But that's the exact move I'm thinking of, legal rope-a-dope with a PR twist. I wouldn't mind betting that in Karen Read's interviews, the parts that they knew that the media would cut probably have Easter eggs either side of the bit that Michael Morrissey might feel is vulnerable sounding and worth clipping. This would allow the defence to play the whole sentence or paragraph and to flip the narrative back once the full context is introduced. In legal terms, this is what you'd call a context trap. It's a form of anticipatory impeachment. The defence is flipping the usual script and baiting the prosecution into overextending with incomplete evidence. And what makes it even more powerful is that it's admissible, the interview's already on the record, it's visual, The jurors can watch Karen's tone and facial expressions. It's emotional, so Karen looks more human and not more guilty, and it reframes the prosecution as dishonest manipulators, not truth seekers. So that's my what if. What if Karen's interview was planted with selectively risky phrasing, knowing the Commonwealth would buy it, and when they do, the defence drops the full cut and burns their narrative to the ground? I'm not saying that is the case. I'm just asking, what if?